Welcome to Suffolk Business Today. I'm Kevin Hughes, the Director of Economic Development. On today's episode, we'll be spending some time with Dick Barber at Western Branch Metals, as well as visiting with Drake Sims, the owner of Rosa's Coffee Cantina. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Suffolk Business Today. I'm joined here today with Dick Barber, the Vice President of Technology at Western Branch Metals. Thanks for joining us today, Dick.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Western Branch Metals.
Well, it's a company that started in 1976, originally distributing a very limited product offering from Armco stainless steel, and it was specifically propeller shafting and a limited size range. They were so successful at it that they ended up becoming Armco's largest distributor of precision propeller shafting, and now we're the largest supplier of high-strength propeller shafting in the world, right out of our little place here in Suffolk. And in addition to the facility in Suffolk here, we also have a distribution facility in the Gulf of Mexico area in Hanrahan, just outside of New Orleans, as well as Seattle. Oh. So we cover the West Coast out of Seattle, we cover the Gulf out of New Orleans, and we cover the East Coast and everywhere else in the world from here.
That's great. Now, we're going to go out on the floor and look at what you guys do on a daily basis, but describe a little bit what a propeller shaft is and what you guys do to make your niche in the industry.
Well, it's actually kind of simple. A boat will have an engine, and it's located in one part of the boat, and a propeller that's located in another part of the boat, and the propeller shaft essentially connects the two. The difficult part of it is typically they're fairly far apart, which means that the propeller shaft has to be long, and you want to put as much power through the shaft as you possibly can without adding drag to the boat. So you want a very high strength product so you can put more power through a smaller hole, if you will. And so the niche that we've really carved out is a series of alloys that have extremely high strength, very good corrosion resistance, and we then bring them in here and do precision straightening and polishing to get them to the tolerances that are really required to operate properly in a marine craft.
And precision really is the key word in all of this, because the equipment that you have and the straightening, which is really interesting. I don't think anyone thinks about that as an actual process of manufacturing. Can you talk about how important that is to what you guys do?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you're rotating a propeller, and you might have a shaft that is 20 or 30 feet long, and if the shaft is bent, then you're going to get a lot of vibration. If you've got a lot of vibration, you're going to cause other problems with the boat. Some of these shafts go into pleasure craft where somebody might be spending $10 million for a yacht. They don't want it to be a vibrator. They want it to be a smooth sailing ship. And so straightness is really, really important. There are tolerances that are put out by organizations like ABYC, American Boat and Yacht Council, which specifies based on the length how straight something is allowed to be or how non-straight something is allowed to be. We tend to work to about half of those tolerances, and that really helps. People are willing to pay more for that level of precision, and that helps us out.
And you not only work in the recreational side, but you also work on the commercial side. So what type of vessels would people find Western Branch products in?
Anywhere from small working boats, ferries. If you were working, say, in the Gulf of Mexico, rig tenders, crew boats, things like that. Car ferries, tour boats, things like that. Tugs, push boats. I was down in Colombia recently at a yard where they were working on some push boats that are moving barges of oil up and down the rivers there. Additionally, there military boats, patrol boats, things like that. We don't do a lot of the large Navy craft. That's kind of beyond our capabilities here, but up to about a 150-foot boat is realistically the area that we can play in.
Okay. And since the company's inception, you've seen some growth that actually brought you out to Suffolk. Can you kind of talk about where it started and where you guys are today as far as growth and facilities and that sort of thing?
Well, the company started really in Western Branch and eventually moved into Portsmouth, where we were down near the port. We eventually outgrew that facility, and about 2005 or 2006, I believe, built this facility out here as a greenfield project. The nice thing about this facility is we're able to organize it in a much more efficient fashion than what we had in Portsmouth. We were sort of tripping over ourselves there. And another nice thing is we've got more area under roof here in Suffolk than we had in the entire piece of land that we had in Portsmouth. So we got to sort of spread our wings a little bit, and it's helped quite a bit with efficiencies. In our old facility in Portsmouth, we had one crane and a number of machine tools. We have 4 overhead cranes as well as a couple of jib cranes. So material movement is a lot more efficient here than it was when we were in Portsmouth. We'd have guys that might be waiting hours to get a crane just so that they could load their machine. And that's really not the case here. And since we've moved here, we've been able to add a lot of capacity. We've added a lot more machine tools and more people, obviously.
Now, you've also diversified, not just maritime, but I know you do some things with gun barrels. And what are some of those other industries that you kind of dabble in to diversify your product?
Yeah, well, the gun barrel one is interesting. I came from a steel mill. I worked for Crucible for 25 years before I joined Western Branch Metals. I knew these people for a long time because this was one of the companies that I would support from a technical point of view. Gun barrels was another one of those industries, and when people had a hard time finding good material, I got a couple phone calls and said, would you please help us? So we partnered with one of our suppliers and have been working on that business for a couple of years now. We've got, I believe it's 12 customers now in that business, and it's going to turn into a nice little niche. It's not enough to keep us afloat, if you will, but it's another nice offering that it gets us into some other industries, and we're a little bit less dependent on the marine industry because when the downturn in the economy hit back in 2008, the the pleasure craft industry went from a build of about 3,500 boats per year down to under 300. Wow. Dramatic drop. Yeah. It effectively stopped. Yeah. And so that was a fairly large portion of our business. We had to go find other things. The gun barrel business was part of it. The pump business was part of it. We looked at pumps. They were a lot like boat shafts. You have excitation at one end, and you have a motor or a transmission at the other end. And our expertise in straightening and in dealing with long shafts actually makes us very attractive to a couple of larger pump companies that are around the country. We've sort of limited ourselves to 2 or 3 companies that we're dealing with, and we've been fairly successful. We've got a lot of repeat orders and a lot of work for them, and that's been a good addition. Again, it's not enough to keep us afloat right now, but it's enough to diversify us so that we're a bigger and better and more interesting company than we were 5 years ago. Excellent.
Well, it really is a fascinating business model, and it's something I don't think a lot of people connect the 2 pieces on. So to really get a breadth of it or an understanding, we're going to go take a walk out on the shop and see your layout, and you'll walk us through a little bit of the process itself. So look forward to doing that. Thanks, Dick. So, Dick, we're going to go through the process here. So we'll start the process here in receiving. What do we have here behind us?
Well, this is the receiving and shipping end of the building. Everything comes in and goes out here. The racks that you see behind us hold the product that we would sell. Off to the sides, you can see there's material that is not in a box. Okay, that would be the raw material that we have coming in, and then we would take that material, precision straighten, polish, and then wrap it, and then it goes in a box. So anything that's in a box is available for sale as a propeller shaft.
Okay.
If you notice, there's a couple of different types of material on the side, specifically the colors, and the darker grayish purple would be the gun barrel material. And that grayish purple is an oxide that the material will grow when it's being heat treated. All that material has a special heat treat that it goes through that gives it the properties that the gun manufacturers like.
Okay, so want to see step 2?
Sure, we'll take a look at it. Lewis is in the process of loading our 250-ton press. The first step in processing here would be to make the bars precision straight. And this is our largest press. This is where we do our large pieces. We also have two smaller presses, a 40-ton and a 60-ton. This one happens to be necessary for some of the larger pieces. The 250-ton refers to the amount of force that the ram can push down on the bar to straighten it. And these particular alloys have a minimum yield strength or minimum strength of 105,000 psi. So in order to bend it, you've got to exceed that strength. Normal stainless steels might have a yield strength of about 30,000 psi. So this is roughly 3 times or 4 times as strong as what a normal run-of-the-mill stainless steel bar would see.
If you were to measure how much is actually bent, what would that amount be?
Oh, you'll get a chance to see that.
Okay.
But
so it's visible.
But what he's doing right now is he's setting up. There's a dial indicator that will be riding on the bar, and he'll be able to rotate it. And typically when he starts, it might be 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch even out of straight. When he's done with it, a bar like this, it'll be certainly within 10 thousandths of being perfectly straight.
Okay.
And that 10 thousandths measurement not only is straightness, but it also is 10 thousandths roundness. So the roundness plus the straightness will be a maximum of about 10 thousandths of an inch. And 10 thousandths of an inch is roughly 3 thicknesses of a piece of paper. We will then precision polish to a surface finish. There's a couple of ways of measuring it, but there's something called an average roughness, and it's measured in either microns or micro inches. We typically work to a micro inch measurement of 30 max or 32 max for smaller bars and 60 max for larger is the specification we work to. What we actually get, again, is about half that. It's not unusual for the smaller bars like the one he's polishing right now to be in the 20s, and it's also not unusual for the larger bars to be in the 40s. So this does a nice job for us. It was made actually in Portsmouth for us. And you can see now that Lewis has gotten himself set up, he's right now just trying to measure and see what he's got. So he's got to rotate the bar, and then there's a dial indicator that will be measuring the deflection, and then he's going to lower the ram, and you can see he's actually bending that bar in order to get it straight. From here, that sort of takes care of the propeller shafting bar stock part of our business. The other part of what we do here is the machine shop, and we put the machine shop in originally to supplement the shafting business, to actually machine propeller shafting for our customers. And it's grown considerably since then, and we not only do propeller shafting, which we'll show you some examples of, but we've also got some examples of some pump shafts. And you can see that they're quite a bit more complicated than the simple marine propeller shaft.
Okay.
So we'll take a walk over there and
we'll check it out. So Dick, what's happening on this side of the floor?
Well, this is a manual mill. What Ed's doing right here is he's cutting some keyways. This would be for a standard propeller shaft. There's a standard specification that governs the geometry. It's a certain taper, a certain amount of thread, and then a certain keyway. And this is sort of the final operation, or the second to final operation we do, where we'll actually put the keyway in, and then from here it would go to have a cotter pin hole drilled in it, and then that would be a finished propeller end that would then go to a customer who's making boats or repairing boats. But this is the milling operation for cutting keyways. We have a couple of different machines that do this. One is a larger machine. It's a CNC machine that we use for bigger ones. This we use for the smaller keyways. We also have other machine tools that will not only turn but also mill at the same time. Those are what we would call a multi-axis machine. And we were talking about some of the other things that we do here. Just an example, these are some pump parts. These are pump shafts that are getting ready to go to inspection and be checked out before we end up shipping them to the customer. These used to be made in Finland, and now they're made right here in Suffolk, so we're pretty happy about that. And it just represents a different type of product that we're trying to make and trying to sell.
Well, Dick, this has been fascinating. Really appreciate your time today, and thank you for your investment in Suffolk.
Thanks very much, Kevin. My pleasure.
Welcome back to Suffolk Business Today. I'm joined here today with Drake Sims, the owner of Rosa's Coffee Cantina here in downtown Suffolk. Thanks for joining us today, Drake.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about Rosa's Coffee Cantina.
Well, this has kind of been a dream of ours for years, and I retired from the military and decided, you know what, we're going to chase our dreams. So we opened this up, and we thought downtown was just a great place to do it. There's a lot of charm down here, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
Now, you guys have been open for how long now?
It will be a year in May.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about some of the things that make you unique here with your coffee shop here.
Well, unique, I think. We have kind of a Spanish flair on the place.
Okay.
We do very kind of West Coast Mexican style food, things you can't get out here. My wife's from the West Coast, so she grew up eating and cooking this way, and that's just what we do here. It's how we like to eat at home, so we brought that here. Some of our coffee drinks we do too, like the café con leche, is kind of a Spanish take on another drink. It's a sweet cream and coffee drink. And so we tried to bring a little bit of that into the coffee house. It's not your typical coffee house food that you would get in most places you go into.
Sure. And then the type of beans you use are, I mean, you put a lot of thought into what type of
Right.
coffee beans are coming in here and how you prepare that.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that.
My supplier for coffee beans roast locally. They're out of Williamsburg, and he travels all over the world visiting different growers, different farms,
Okay.
and they have to be what he calls sustainable. And sustainable meaning they're rainforest certified and they're environmentally conscious, or organically grown, and then they have fair wages and health care and things like that for their educational benefits for their workers. And that's a big thing in the coffee industry, is a lot of the larger farms, if you've heard of the term fair trade, coffee was becoming kind of like the diamond mines, where it was almost slave labor running the farms. So there's a big movement out there with conscientious people to buy coffee from farms who treat their labor well, and that's what our coffee does.
So it's coffee with a conscience.
It's coffee with a conscience, I guess you could say.
And so as you were kind of developing the idea of the coffee shop with that in mind, how does that lead into your dream? I mean, was that part of it, or something you kind of found out more about?
Well, as we were shopping for people to supply us with coffees, it's one of the things we started learning more about the coffee. We were like a lot of other people, and it's good coffee, it tastes good, let's buy that. And the more I got into the world of coffee and small coffee businesses, I found out that there was a lot more behind the scenes of, well, yeah, you can get beans for a cheaper price from this place, but they're not doing things the way I would do it if I ran the farm. So
Sure.
It's just, I think, human nature. If you want to do the right thing, then you buy the right things from the right people, not necessarily where you can get it the cheapest.
And where do some of those beans come from around the world?
We have beans from a farm called Yargashefe in Ethiopia. We have Cantina Especial from Costa Rica. We have ones from Nicaragua, the Selva Negra, all over the place. I mean, it's almost endless where I can get the coffees from. And it's funny that coffees grown in the same place are not all equal. So just because you get Colombian beans, and a lot of people like Colombian coffee, and I can get that too. However, different parts of Colombia grow beans that are not as good as certain other parts. So
Sure.
There's a lot goes into it.
Now, the coffee industry, especially the coffee shop, has gotten very sophisticated.
Yes.
Of course, you can always just get black coffee and add to it, but you have a pretty extensive menu, even on the coffee side.
Yes.
How did you begin to learn how to make all these different drinks, and how's the industry evolving?
Well, I actually did some training with my coffee supplier. He's also a certified instructor for the Small Coffee Association to train baristas. And we went and learned how to make some of these drinks with him in he calls it his laboratory. He's got a small coffee shop set up inside his roaster, and he does tests on the coffee, and he makes drinks, and he wants to make sure his product's good for what he's selling to the coffee houses. So we went up there and trained, and I learned how to make a lot of drinks from him. So
that's great. And now, obviously, you're more than just a coffee shop, because you start in the morning and you serve a breakfast menu as well,
right.
And then you have a lunch menu, and then you also do some evening events with open mics and some of those stuff. So
right.
talk about that other side of the coffee shop that makes Rosa so unique down here.
Well, besides the unique food, we do different events. We've had a couple of private parties where we've closed the shop for a group of people, and we've catered that party. We can hold about 30 people, and we do, like you said, live music nights on Friday nights or open mic night on Friday nights. And not every Friday night, but for a while we were doing them almost every Friday night. And we're open till 10, and we'll have live music. We have amplifiers and microphones, and they can plug in their guitars and sing. And it's just something to do on Friday night in downtown.
Sure.
Besides dinner, there's not a lot to do down here. Well, the show, you can go to the show down the street, but it's something to do that's wholesome. You can bring your family to, you can bring your kids to, and sit, have a nice drink. You can have dinner and listen to some live music. So.
Now, how could folks find out about the events that you're going to be having in the future?
We post everything on Facebook.
Okay.
And it's Rosa's Coffee Cantina on Facebook. If you put the apostrophes and the spaces in there, it'll pop up and you'll see our logo.
Yeah.
That'll come up, and just friend us. And every time we're having something, if we're having a lunch special or we're having music or open mic night or something, it'll pop up on there. So it's a good way for people to keep informed of what we're doing.
And then folks obviously can stop by, and you make a pretty mean omelet.
Yes.
As well as
what
all do you serve lunch-wise and maybe the breakfast stuff as well?
Breakfast, we have an omelet, which is bacon, egg, and cheese, and our homemade fresh salsa, and a 2-egg omelet, and it comes with a side of fruit. And the breakfast sandwich is a butter croissant with a 1-egg omelet on it with a piece of cheese and a side of fruit. Okay. And those have gotten good reviews. They're not actually on the menu, but we have a lot of people order them. So it's an underground breakfast.
And then your Mexican flair for lunch. What does that feature?
That's carne asada tacos, and the carne asada is it's a marinated grilled steak, and we cut our own steak. Everything's fresh. We don't have frozen meats. I cut it myself. I butcher it. I season it. I marinate it, and I grill it myself. And then that's served on small tortillas that we get shipped in from Los Angeles because we can't find them out here. And it's 4 tortillas, homemade corn chips. We make our own chips here, and salsa, my homemade salsa.
Right.
So, and that's become a big favorite.
Yeah. And then the chicken salad's always
chicken salad is a staple. That's this coffee shop, when it opened 5 years ago, was serving this chicken salad. And when we were building it out, we remodeled when we bought it, and I had people knocking on the door and asking me if I was going to serve that chicken salad. So I thought we better keep the chicken salad.
Yeah.
It seems like people like it.
That's smart. That's smart.
We did.
Yeah. And speaking of that, it's a great point you brought up. When you came in as the new owner, you rearranged the place and had probably a little more laid-back atmosphere, a place where you can really sit back and relax, as well as kind of the restaurant side. How did you go about with the layout and the design?
Well, we just wanted to open it up and make it have. We wanted it to be bright and charming and relaxing.
Yeah.
We wanted people to be able to sit and talk with their friends and have a cup of coffee or have a meeting and sit for a while and relax. I think a coffee shop is a place that you should be able to kind of just come and hang out. It's not like a lot of other restaurants where you want them in and out and open up the table so somebody else can sit down.
Right.
I like it when people stay.
Yeah, it's a really cozy, and it's a great place to hang out. Now you're going to jump behind the counter and show us kind of the artistry behind some of your great drinks, and we'll go ahead and check that out right now.
Okay.
So Drake, we're behind the counter. Why don't you show us how to make something?
Okay. We'll do a basic latte. All right. This is a group head. This is what you pack your coffee into. The coffee grinder, this is an espresso grinder. It's specially made to grind the espresso beans really fine. So what I'm doing, I turned it on, grinding them, which if I fill this up with a curved finger, I want to smooth it all the way to the sides there. That's about an ounce of coffee. Now this is what they call a tamper. And you take this, you're going to smash the coffee in, about 40 pounds of pressure, making sure that it's evenly packed. I'm going to dust this off so I don't get it in my seals. And then we're going to put it in the espresso machine. And what this is going to do, the water comes out of here about 215, 220 degrees and about 9 times the atmospheric pressure. So it's going to force the water through that packed coffee and make a super strong, small cup of coffee. Should be about an ounce and a half of liquid when it comes out. And while that's running, that's looking pretty good. Usually what you want to pull a good shot should pull between about 25 and 30 seconds. So that ran about right. About 5 seconds it started to drip, about 10 seconds it started to pour, and it's looking pretty good.
And is that cream or what exactly is in there?
Well, this is milk.
Okay.
And a latte is a shot of espresso, or in this case a double shot of espresso, and steamed milk. So I'm going to put that in my steamer pitcher about half full. That's about enough, so I'm going to shut that off. I'm going to clear my steam wand. And then we're going to do, when you froth the milk, you want to submerge this tip about halfway. It's going to introduce air into the milk, and as it heats, the fats in the milk will actually sweeten the milk a little bit.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's what you do here. So about halfway down, turn this all the way on. And when I'm doing it, I want to texture the milk. See how I got that little vortex going, right, and the milk's spinning in a circle there? You want that so that it evenly puts the air into the milk. So it's kind of creamy all the way through, not just on the top.
Right.
And you want your milk to grow. Should increase by about 2/3 of the
air
volume that you had.
Right.
Right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm tapping it on the counter. That pops the larger bubbles on the top, and by swirling it, I kind of mix it around some more, and I get those larger bubbles to the top.
Nice.
And with that.
Drake, thanks for your time today on Suffolk Business Today. We'll close with telling the folks where they can find you and more information about your shop here.
All right. We're right downtown on 149 North Main Street, across from the courthouse. You can find us on Facebook, Rosa's Coffee Cantina, and phone number. Oh, yeah, phone number 923-9928.
Thanks so much for your time today,
Thank
and
you, Kevin.
thanks for your investment in Suffolk.
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Special thanks to Dick Barber from Western Branch Metals, as well as Drake Sims from Rosa's Coffee Cantina. Thank you for joining us on Suffolk Business Today. We'll see you next time.